Huge news, as apparently Kristaps Porzingis' injury might not be as bad as we thought, and Team Latvia is not ruling out the possibility that he plays today. We'll be talking about that in this video. Plus, we're going to be getting into NBA 2K24's ratings and just how much they disrespected Jaylen Brown. And finally, we'll be talking about how Tony Parker was this close to being a Boston Celtic. So you'll want to stick around for this edition of Celtics Digest. And the first thing we're going to get into today, but before we get into the Kristaps Porzingis injury news, a quick reminder to hit subscribe if you found this video, you like the kind of content we post here. Hit subscribe, you won't regret it. All right, so this is in Latvian. It was a Latvian article, but I translated it. I'm not going to read this in Latvian, but basically what this says is it is planned that Kristaps Porzingis will participate in the World Cup. The head coach of the Latvian basketball team, Jānis Galitis, admitted, and they played a training match with the Dominican Republic yesterday, but today is Saturday. Both teams will have an official match in the Arena Riga. So this is pretty awesome that Team Latvia is getting to play Dominican Republic today, but the big news comes later in the article where they state that Kristaps Porzingis, at the very least, will be with the team Saturday and warm up. So he's going to be with the team and warming up today, and they also said that they're not ruling out the possibility that he plays. Now, this is huge news, right? Not only if you're a Kristaps fan or Team Latvia fan, but a Boston Celtics fan, because you know, a lot of us, including myself, got very, very worried when we heard that Kristaps Porzingis had to skip out on another one of Team Latvia's training matches. He wasn't really with the team. He wasn't able to warm up as much as the other guys. Same with guys like Davison Banton, who was still hurt, and they said he's actually maybe a little further away from playing. So it's kind of scary, right? With a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, who has such a huge, huge history of injuries throughout his NBA career, him being healthy is going to be paramount to the Boston Celtics succeeding this upcoming season in the Eastern Conference and on their way to title number 18, right? Kristaps was brought in to replace Marcus Smart, and I know not a lot of people really like that trade. I know most people are like, oh, Marcus Smart, we want him there. He's the heart and soul of the Celtics. While true, Kristaps Porzingis is probably a better basketball player, though they bring very different things. But again, his injuries are always a worry. And, you know, if you're a Kristaps Porzingis fan, you're no stranger to hearing, oh, well, he's hurt again this offseason. He's got to do some rehab, whatever. And, of course, when we heard this about Team Latvia, I mean, there was a collective groan, right? Everyone was kind of like, oh, God, not again, right? But no, he's ready to go. He's going to be warming up today in Team Latvia's match with Dominican Republic. So it's going to be very interesting to watch, and I'm probably going to be tuning in, trying to see whatever I can. I don't know if it's really going to be easy to find a stream of that, but I want to watch and just see if there's anything I can see about Kristaps Porzingis, because just seeing how he's moving, how he looks on the court is at least a decent sign, at least a decent indicator to where he might be along his, injury process. But again, the fact that they said he's going to play in the World Cup, the plan right now is for him to play in the World Cup. The plan is for him to maybe play Saturday. That's about the best news we could have asked for, because this versus what we heard last week about him, maybe not even playing at all in the World Cup, it's a huge, huge upgrade. So thank goodness that he seems to be on the road to being healthy, and let's just hope he can start the season that way. All right, second topic today. Oh boy. Okay, so Jaylen Brown. I personally think this ranking is quite disrespectful of Jaylen Brown, so let's just take a look at his rating. 89. And if you guys remember, this is actually lower than his rating last year at the start of the season. Last year, I believe he was a 91. I could be mistaken. It was a 90 or a 91. It was definitely in the 90s, but this year, they have him at an 89. And I know the number doesn't necessarily mean a lot without putting it into context, so let's show you the 5 players around him, number 15 to 25 in the rankings. You can see Jaylen Brown slotting in there at number 21 and 89 overall, sharing that rating with the likes of Paul George, Domantas Sabonis, and Trae Young. Now, look, I understand Trae Young gets a lot of points and assists, but he does nothing else. Jaylen Brown does everything on the basketball court. He's an elite defender, averages an efficient 25 a game. Oh, he can't dribble. Yeah, he actually can, just maybe not as well as some point guards, Like, I don't know. I think he should be ahead of Trae Young at the very least. As for Paul George and Domantas Sabonis, I get Paul George is kind of getting older. They give him a bit more of a legacy rating, but he's still very good. I mean, when he's healthy, right? That's kind of the thing with him. But another one that I was kind of interested in was Zion Williamson. I mean, again, when Zion is healthy, he is outstanding for sure, but he is never really healthy. And I know the rating can't necessarily, bank on them always being healthy, but it's kind of interesting, right? And also someone like Kyrie Irving, who again scores a lot of points, but he doesn't contribute to winning basketball. But hey, someone like Kyrie Irving is amazing in the 2K world because he can dribble and shoot, right? But still, an 89 for Jaylen Brown, I just don't see how he's not a 90. I understand the rest of the NBA is really, really talented. A lot of players took leaps, and you see Tyrese Halliburton up there in the 88 overall, and Shea was actually just above this list, right? Above Ja Morant at like a 93 overall. So there are guys who are getting better around the league as well. And I guess 2K thought, well, Jaylen Brown didn't jump as much as some of these other guys, but at the same time, for everything he brings to the court, there's a reason he signed that big contract. There's a reason he's an all-NBA player. The fact that he's below a 90 to me is just disrespectful. Just give him the 90. Put him above Trae Young, right? Domantas Sabonis is maybe a little closer to him, but even then, like, you can argue a bunch of different ways. I just think 90 is the bare minimum for Jaylen Brown at this point, but let me know what you guys think. I mean, I play 2K a ton. I'm sure a lot of you do too, so let me know in the comments. Is 89 too high, too low for Jaylen Brown? I think he could be up at least 1 or 2. Final thing today, very, very cool thing. Tony Parker was almost a Celtic. Now, this news coming out, of course, just on the heels of Tony Parker being inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, alongside Greg Popovich this year as well, Tim Duncan a few years ago, and same thing with Manu Ginobili. So that whole Spurs Big 3+ coach are all in the Hall of Fame now. But there was an interesting article on The Athletic discussing Tony Parker on draft night, and I'm going to show it to you guys. They said, indeed, the Celtics had the 21st pick that year, their third pick of the first round, but before Parker could make the walk, as he was told, the Celtics, someone's going to draft you at 19 or 21, but Boston's definitely going to take you at 21. She came back and said to Tony, oh, no, go back. I don't know what happened. What had happened, according to an NBA executive who was granted anonymity to speak freely, was that the brand new Celtics GM Chris Wallace, that name, well, let me know what you think of hearing that name again, had been overruled by an 84-year-old Celtics legend, that being Red Auerbach. He served as Celtics head coach from 1950 through 66, and he was still actively involved, and Auerbach insisted that Wallace draft North Carolina shooting guard Joe Forte. So this is really interesting. Red Auerbach decided to veto the draft pick of Tony Parker by Chris Wallace and the scouting team. Now, this is weird because, looking back on how everything turned out for the Celtics, they got Banner 17 in 2008. The big three, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, of course, Rajon Rondo, Kendrick Perkins, all these guys, Leon Poe. But would that have happened with Tony Parker here? Like, you hear so many stories about Tony Parker really getting into his groove because of Greg Popovich, because of the culture in San Antonio. And I'm not saying the culture in Boston was bad, but in the early 2000s, it definitely wasn't what it is today, right? In the early 2000s, there was a lot of turmoil. You had some interesting guys, like Paul Pierce was the go-to guy. You had these years of Antoine Walker. You had a very interesting Celtics team that wasn't always the most successful. And, some trades as well, right? The Celtics, just a few years earlier, they traded away Chauncey Billups. They also traded away Joe Johnson. You never know what would have happened with Tony Parker. So I think if Tony Parker was a Celtic, would he still have had a Hall of Fame career? Yeah, probably. Like, basketball talent is basketball talent. He would have been that point guard of the future, Tony Parker and Paul Pierce going for it. But I don't know. I feel like I don't necessarily like if we could do this all over again, would we pick Tony Parker? Yeah, probably. But would you as a fan redo this whole experience assuming that we have Tony Parker? No, I don't think I would. I think I would still take that 08 title. I would still take where the team is now because that butterfly effect would just run rampant, right? And we wouldn't have anywhere near the same team today. Now, and again, also, Red Auerbach, he got the team, 16 titles? It's okay. You're allowed to make some mistakes, Red. You don't always have to be exactly correct. You're missing on Tony Parker? Yeah, that's a miss in favor of Joe Forte, but looking back, it doesn't matter because the Celtics got that Banner 17. They're going to get Banner 18 in the next couple of years, and while Tony Parker was an awesome player, Charlotte Hornets legend Tony Parker, looking back, I'm pretty happy with the Celtics. Maybe not with the Joe Forte decision, but with the decisions after that, how everything turned out, I'm not that upset. But that'll do it for this edition of Celtics Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help push us in the YouTube algorithm by hitting that like button. We'd really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.